All right, party people, AJT Jungle Traders. We are going to go into chapter 6 of the Trader's Mindset. I know we just had a session on Thursday, but I'm getting back on track. Tuesdays are the Trader Mindset. Thursdays are the first 90 days of trading. And starting tomorrow on Wednesday, the price action and technical analysis program is going to start. Now, we kind of did a little bit of that today. Kind of gave you a snapshot as to how the live part of it's going to work. Because, like I said, watching a video, reading a book, looking at dead charts does not help you learn how to read technical analysis, and it damn sure doesn't help you learn how to read price action. So we will have the classroom type setting where we talk about the fundamentals, but then we'll be moving on to and working on the actual act of reading price action and completing technical analysis on your charts. So that has to be in a live setting. That's what we're going to be doing. All right, so let's review a little bit here. These are the 5 fundamental truths that we talked about last week. And I told you, you probably want to print these and put them on your monitor, on your desk, or whatever. These are the 5 fundamental truths that Mark Douglas kind of, introduced us to. That anything can happen in the market. You don't need to know what's going to happen next in order to make money, because there's no way for us to know with any degree of certainty what's going to happen next. We use we use technical analysis and price action to give us a good, a better than not chance of knowing what's going to happen next. That's kind of what that boils down to. Also, there's a random distribution between wins and losses for any given set of variables. This is what really screws people up in our mentor sessions. And honestly, it's made some people quit because they don't understand the value of this. Okay, there is a random distribution between wins and losses. You can go on a winning streak. You can go on a losing streak, even if you have an edge. And I think going over the coin flip experiment last week proved that to you. Now you're gonna go through times when even if the coin's weighted to land on heads, it may land on tails several times for whatever reason. The person flipping it might not have done it the same, or they might have done something to take away the edge of the coin, and you just don't know. So understanding that there's a random distribution, and then knowing how to separate those trades where we made mistakes and we did things the wrong way and we didn't do the right things, that we can't count that against our strategy. That's our mess. That's our problem. And when people start building those piles and they start putting in looking at the pile of trades where they made mistakes versus the pile of trades they didn't make mistakes, they don't want to see that. They don't want to accept the truth. They don't want to accept reality. And their mind is closed to this. So I don't want that to happen to you guys. But an edge is nothing more than an indication of a higher probability of one thing happening over another. And that's what technical analysis and price action is going to tell us. That this thing is, this has a better chance of happening versus that. This has a better chance of happening versus that. And again, every moment in the market is unique. And just to kind of sum up the probabilities that presentation, that's the first part. Now we're going to get into it a little bit deeper later on, but I wanted to introduce the first part and talk to you about how important it is to understand why we must think in probabilities. Why it's important that we think in probabilities. Alright, so practically all trading errors occur when a trader assumes, thinks, or believes that he or she knows more than the market. Or more specifically, where the market is going. Okay, that's us thinking that we know for sure. That we know better than the market. That we know better than what the chart's telling us. But a trader who thinks in the probability lives in the now. As what's happening right now that's going to determine the direction that the trade is likely to go in. Alright. The trader who thinks in probabilities accepts reality for what it is and places their trades accordingly. Accepting reality means accepting what the chart is telling them. Not what they want or not what they believe is going to happen because they have hope and faith. But what is the chart telling me? Okay. If you're thinking in probabilities, you have fully accepted that there are unknown forces driving the market. Meaning they're traders, they're big money traders, funds, all of these things that are driving the market. So that we accept that. Okay, and that you can't worry about whether you're right or wrong. If you checked all of the boxes before you took your trade, you're right. Doesn't matter whether the trade works out or not. If you checked all of your boxes for your edge, then you're right. If a large enough number of good trades are taken, a pattern will develop that will produce consistent results. Not making $500 a day or $300 a day. Some days you can make $3,000. Some days you may lose $200. That doesn't mean you're not consistent. You judge your consistency by how well you execute your strategy. And if you're executing it the same way every time over and over and over again, then you're being consistent. And at the end of the month, you're going to have consistent results. I can have a losing week here and there, but that doesn't mean the month is going to be a loser. That it doesn't mean that. So you have to take the trades as they set up. Don't qualify them. Once they set up, you take it. You should have already qualified them. You should have already vetted them ahead of time. And we're going to go from there. All right. So again, if anybody has any questions about thinking in probabilities or how do they need to implement that so that their trading can be better, these are things that we work on in the mentoring sessions. Okay, that's why you have those. I personally feel it's impossible to get to where you want to be in this business without having some type of mentor. You know, I had mentors when I first started. Realized they didn't have a clue, and if I had never met the traders that I met, you know, if you know Abraham wasn't working at this insurance company, and they didn't have these guys working there, I never would have met a professional trader, and never would have had the mentoring, and I never would have been able to get to where I am. So it's really, you know, really important. That's why I offer that. So here's some of the trader traps. These are the traps that traders get caught in all the time. Okay, here's one: the magnetic attraction to trading. Trading is a profession that offers the prospective trader the opportunity for unlimited earning potential. Okay, let me say that again. It offers the prospective trader unlimited earning potential. Okay, it still offers that. And we've all been dreaming about being in a profession that has unlimited earning potential. That my earning potential is not limited by my job or, you know, my surroundings or my education or whatever. You know, this is something that you could learn, and it can blow you up big. Trading is a profession that allows us to exist on our own terms and set our own boundaries. So practically anyone can open a brokerage account and start trading. So why would, you know, looking at all of this, why wouldn't somebody want to get into trading? You know, why wouldn't somebody want to get into it? So anyone can open up a brokerage account and start trading. Anybody can open up a Robinhood account and go. And these other places that you could buy fractional shares. I mean, there's so many opportunities out there. So there's really no excuse as to why you can't get started. So to sum it up, trading offers unlimited earning potential, and all that together with the freedom that we talked about to take advantage of that potential. And with that, you experience what Mark Douglas calls unique and specialized psychological challenges. These are challenges that very few people are properly equipped to deal with or have any awareness for that matter. And people can't exactly work on overcoming something if they don't even know it's a problem. But I'm going to go one step further. If they don't accept that that's a problem when it's presented to them. Like I said, this is the biggest pushback I get. This is the biggest negative I get from mentoring, is that people refuse to accept it when I give it to them. They refuse to accept the fact that they're going to have to be a different person in order to make money in this industry. They're going to have a different mindset. You know, and one of the only reasons why I was able to grasp this without somebody actually teaching me was that I had to do the same thing when I went to be a teacher in the classroom. I was a professional in everything that I did, but actually relaying the information and presenting the information to students in a way that they can understand it and grow from it is not something that the average person can do. Okay, it's not something that the average person can do. All right, so we have to have that. And this is what the trap is. The trap is you come into this, you notice there's unlimited earnings potential, but you don't even know that in order to get to where you want to be, you're going to have to change your way of thinking. You have to start thinking like a trader in order to make this work. So we all think that kind of freedom is great. All right. Having the freedom to trade, like with me, being able to go if my daughter's in something or my son is in something, I could take off and go be with them. If my family's doing something, I take off. If I need to go to the doctor, or I don't have to ask permission from somebody to take off and go. Hell, if I feel like going fishing right now, I would go. That's the freedom that we all have. But with that freedom comes a price that we have to pay, and it's developing, it's putting in the work and developing the right mindset that we need to go forward. All right. The freedom is great, but there is a price we have to pay. So we all seem to naturally want it, strive for it, and crave it. But again, we don't have the psychological resources to excel in that type of environment. Okay, and when you're in an environment that has very few when you're in an environment that has very few boundaries, man, you can destroy yourself very easily. So almost everyone needs to make some mental adjustments, regardless of their educational background, intelligence, or how successful they've been in other endeavors. Does that make sense? All right, so in order to keep us out of this trap, we need rules and standards to guide our market behavior. Okay, I call these rules of engagement. So when we first start working together and we're talking about, what strategies, it doesn't matter whether you trade my strategy, Billy Joe, Jim Bob's strategy, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter whose strategy you trade. The reality is you're going to have rules of engagement. Rules that govern what you do in the market. So we must make these ourselves based on our strategy, and we have to hold ourselves accountable. Now, a lot of you, we do our mentor sessions, and you ask me to hold you accountable. And that's what I do. And there again, some people have said, I want this, but they can't handle it. They can't take it. They want somebody to you know, hold them and say everything's gonna be all right, and not ever hold them accountable for the mistakes that they're making. So the market has very little, if any, rules. Okay, the overall market. And therefore, it definitely won't hold us accountable to our rules. Okay, so we've got to have rules that we follow as a trader. Got to have these rules. Okay? And that's one of the first things we work on in one-on-one sessions is helping you develop your rules of engagement. All right, so I know you've heard this over and over and over again, but trading, you could look at trading as the same way you would look at a casino. Okay, casino games have structure. They have structure. They're just not out there doing things just to be doing them. They have specified beginnings, middles, and endings based on a sequence of events that determine the outcome of that game. Once you decide you're going to participate and you put your money on the table, you can't change your mind in the middle of the game. You're in it until it's in. Notice I said put your money on the table. Alright, the trades that you take in the market, they don't have structure. Okay, they don't in terms of having a structure that guarantees a certain outcome. It doesn't. Okay, stock prices are consistently in motion. A trade does not begin until you decide it should, and it lasts as long as you want. And it doesn't end until you want it to be over. That's basically your trade. Okay, regardless of what your trade plan says, any number of psychological factors can come into play, causing you to become distracted, change your mind, become scared or overconfident. In other words, it causes you to behave in ways that are erratic and unintended. Okay, another thing Mark Douglas talks about. We talked about these psychological things. It was the destructive emotions presentation. Okay, the destructive emotion presentation. That's what we were looking at. All right. But this is a trap. So to put it simply, your trade is a personal choice in which you have control over when it starts, how long you're in it, and when it ends. This personal choice is a product of how we interpret market data and how it affects us psychologically. I'm letting it sink in. This personal choice is a product of how we interpret that market data and how it affects us psychologically. So that's power. Are you ready for it? Are you ready for this power? So we're going to talk about this. Okay, we're going to talk about this. Interpret the market data. What do you think we're talking about when I'm talking about interpreting the market data? What skill set do we use to interpret the market data? Anybody? Everybody? Reading price action, you got half of it. What's the other half? Okay, what do we call the charts? Technical analysis. So the very thing that we're going to start working on. Technical analysis. Price action. This is how we interpret the market data. And how we interpret it can affect us psychologically. Okay, it can affect us psychologically. It can screw us completely up. Alright, so with great power comes great responsibility. The hard reality of trading is that if you want to create consistency, you must accept responsibility for your trading. No matter what happens during the trade or the outcome of the trade. If you're in the trade, okay, if we're in a trade and our internet goes out and we can't get logged in to get out of the trade that's going against us, it's not the internet's fault. It's not the market's fault. We have to accept responsibility for it because we took that trade knowing that this could happen. Right? We took this trade knowing what could happen. So who's responsible for it? And this is another trap. This is another trap that we get caught up in. We want to blame anything and everybody for our problems or what's not working. Whereas we have the power, but we have to be responsible for it. And being responsible for it means accepting the outcomes. Alright, stay focused on your trading journey. Do not get distracted by the illusion of comparison. Alright, do not get distracted by the illusion of comparison. When you compare yourself to others, when you have somebody that's in another community and they're like, man, we're killing it over here. We're doing this, we're doing that. You get over there and you start, doing it and you're not killing it. And you realize you were comparing yourself to a fantasy. You weren't comparing yourself to something that was real. And you're caught in that illusion of comparison. That's what you're caught up in. That illusion of comparison. What do you mean your account is getting killed in that illusion? Oh, yeah. You're right. I'm slow. Sometimes my mind is a little slow to connect the dots. But yeah, 100%. Oh, That's the same thing. All right, so do not get addicted to the randomness. Do not get addicted to the randomness. Most traders will end up as random traders because they refuse to take responsibility for their trading. They will copy other traders so that if they lose, they can't blame it on somebody else. Okay? It's whoever they copied from. They don't know what the hell they're doing. I need to find somebody else I can learn how to trade from. You know, they will not make trading plans, or they will make them, but they will not execute on them. They live for the next big trade they get from someone else. They're living for that next big trade they get from somebody else. It's not what you want. That's another trap. That is a trap that traders fall into. That new traders fall into. And some of these traps, you die in them. I hate to say it, but your trading dies in them. The market is not a social place. Just because there are a lot of participants like you in the market doesn't mean it's a good place to gather socially. Growing up, we all operated in a social environment, and we become dependent on it. Even when we were forced to separate during COVID, we socialized electronically. We needed others because most of us, whether we knew it or not, depended on others to fulfill certain social needs. So we become dependent on this. And so when we come into trading, which is a job, which is a serious thing, we get too caught up in the socialization of it. We use social interaction with others to manipulate and control our environment. But in the market environment, it doesn't work. It does not work. Unless you are a big fish, a whale, you cannot manipulate or, to a degree, control market direction. Okay, the only thing that we can do is control how we perceive and engage the market. Okay, that's all we can do. Right? Trading chat rooms and communities are so popular because they fulfill that need, right? They fulfill the need of our social engagement. They promote social activities over focused learning, or they try to combine the two. Okay, social interaction is a big part of keeping members engaged, even when they're suffering. Okay, this is another trap you fall into. You don't need that type of social engagement. I guess to a certain extent, it can make you feel good that you're not in the sinking ship by yourself, that there are other people sinking with you. I guess you can feel good about that. But why? Why would you want to do that? You know, but this is another trap. It's another one of those cold, hard traps. So common knowledge can help amateur traders understand the basics of trading, but it isn't a good idea to rely solely on what you learn from your beginner's course. Let me repeat that. It isn't a good idea to rely solely on what you learn from your beginner's course, because your beginner's course is like you being in elementary school. Okay? Can what you learned in elementary school be used to make money in the real world now? Think about what you learned in elementary school. You had to build on those, right? You had to build on what you learned. You had to grow into this. So it's not good to rely on what you learn in your beginner's course or whatever. You got to make sure to pay attention and to learn how the market actually moves. Instead of sticking to your predictions, have a good risk management strategy in place, and you can avoid the most common trading traps and mistakes. And I can actually throw risk management into this trading trap. A lot of people, because the risking X to make X, risking X to make Y, X being lower than Y makes sense. It makes you feel good. It makes you feel like you're not gambling and all of this stuff, right? So UPS, what did they bring? So that's what people hang on to that for, because it makes them feel comfortable. But that's the very thing that will kind of hurt you in the long run. Oh, he's going next door. I thought I was getting something. All right, that's it. That's it. I hope this all makes sense to you. I hope it all makes sense to you. So this wraps up chapter 6. Like I said, I'm going to send a recap. I mean, not a recap. An email with all of the last three videos, because these are the ones we've done in 2024.